we got a shortened week, which will be interesting. So obviously holiday, Thanksgiving.
Do we have a shortened week?
You don't.
Well, just forex. I know I don't.
Forex does not.
Forex does not.
Forex, hey, we are there 24/7, 24/5, hopefully 24/7 in the next.
That'd be cool.
Some magic things happen. But 24/5, we're good. All day Thursday, we'll trade. Futures on an abbreviated schedule. Friday on an abbreviated schedule also because I think equities only have half a day on Friday. I think equities only go till noon. We will go to 4 o'clock. So nothing will slow down here. So you'll be able to trade. It should be an interesting week. We've got a lot of data coming out. You've got it up here. End of month. Now, again, I always tend to lean a little bit on seeing some outsized moves end of month as corporates and others who hedge on a monthly basis tend to do this towards the end of the month. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't in terms of seeing some movement, outsized movement in the markets. But the question becomes, do they do this Wednesday or do they do it Friday where kind of the U.S. is in almost holiday mode and markets are open, but they're thin. So it'll be interesting to see. But we've got inflation metrics coming out.
Well, so yeah, it starts with we have an FOMC minutes on a Tuesday tomorrow, which I think is traditionally a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So we've got the FOMC minutes tomorrow. We also have the New Zealand rate decision, which might not mean a lot to the person not into Forex, but with how much movement we've seen in that New Zealand dollar, that'll be an interesting one because I think they're expected. Yeah, they're forecasting a 50 bip cut.
Right.
And it'll be really interesting to see if they do commit to that and then what the press conference is after the fact there, because that Kiwi has moved around a ton. And that's all just tomorrow before any of the potential month-end flows.
Absolutely. So, and that Kiwi market has become really interesting now. You know, one of the things we've done too is really working on keeping those Kiwi spreads incredibly tight. So the tighter that is, and when you look at tastyfx, you'll see we've done a fantastic job, especially recently on some of these pairs that are interesting, like Kiwi, like Aussie, like Canada. We've brought the spreads in a little bit and by up to 50% on some of them. Yeah. So some appreciable movement inside the spreads. What does that mean? I can do more business and there's less impact in terms of friction and slippage. All great stuff. Now, this is a market that has really had a lot of movement to it, and we're going to look at that. We're going to look at Aussie. We know there's a close correlation here. Kiwi at an interesting inflection point, really trading near its lows. With this event, 50 basis point rate cut on the table. Be interesting to see what they do if they follow through on that, and the talk afterwards. So. And what's nice is this is one you'll be able to trade. What I mean by that is this will come out late afternoon our time. Mm-hmm. So it's not like trying to trade BOJ rate announcements, which come out between 11 p.m. Chicago time and 1 in the morning. This will come out right around that end of our day.
I think the rate decision for New Zealand is 7 o'clock in Chicago, so 8 o'clock East Coast. And then the press conference is an hour later.
Right.
And so, yeah, definitely manageable unless you're Pete or myself who tend to go to sleep at 7 or 8 o'clock.
No, I'll definitely make 7 o'clock for this.
Well, especially, so this is an interesting one because you're sitting right here at 58-ish cents, between 58 and 59, which is, it's not one of those like, oh, it's teetering on the low. It's the low for the last year plus of action. I can really quickly get some more in here. And you can see we took a trip down to 58 cents last October, stayed there for 1 or 2 trading sessions, and then traded all the way back above 63 cents in the following 2 months worth of price action. So really interesting piece there, Pete. Something to keep in mind. We're trading here at the lows. They're pricing in a 50 bip cut already. That's priced into this market and a bunch of other markets. If they come out and do the 50 basis point cut, maybe you see a knee-jerk reaction one way or the other. But keep in mind that, and this is so hard for new people. I know that the experienced traders out there probably know this. The idea that something's priced into the market and then they think that, oh, they haven't cut 50 basis points yet. So when they come out and cut, then they're going to hammer this New Zealand dollar. You could absolutely see a 50 bip cut and even some kind of dovish or maybe sideways talk at the press conference an hour later, and a New Zealand dollar market that maybe pushed through those lows, tried to see where they could take it, but ends up positive on the day. Now, we of course have no clue, but just saying that here at the lows, they're already pricing in, they've already priced in a lot of downside for this market. Anything's on the table in terms of positive or negative. You might think, oh, the U.S., they might not cut at all at their next meeting. And if New Zealand's cutting 50 bips, then they're going to hammer this New Zealand dollar. They've already taken it down from 63.5 to 58.5 in the course of 2 months of price action.
500 over 500 pip break in 2 months.
Huge.
Now, that's right around 9% move in 2 months. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So you're spot on in what you're thinking. So a lot of expectations built in, whether or not they cut 50 or not. We're not going to play that game of guessing. What we're going to do is think about scenarios. If they do cut 50, they've priced a lot of that in. Will the initial reaction and the talk maybe is dovish? Will they try to test the lows, test the resolve of those longs? Maybe. But what I expect is to see more elasticity in both directions. Yeah. If they pierce through those lows, there may be some more stops down there. Whether or not they stay down there, basis they priced in an aggressive set of cuts. They deliver that. Where do we go now? That's already priced in, and we may see a bounce. I don't know, but what I am going to do is I'm going to think about, if they cut only 25, what's the reaction? In my mind, I would think if they cut 25, we'll see a little bit of bounce, and then the statement may say, well, we're going to be more aggressive in the future, so be mindful of that. But start thinking about your trading ranges, where you want to trade both sides of it, and this one, you can expect to see, because we're at those lows, there's going to be a little bit more elasticity. So expect to see a little bit more than your traditional daily ranges, which has been healthy daily ranges in this product now.
We've started to see some big moves for sure. You'll not only see these big bars, but I'll bounce over to Aussie and CAD just to show the price action so far this week, and we're not even into the U.S. session. And you've seen an Aussie market, Pete, that last night opened more than 50 pips higher, got all the way up to close to 65.50. I mean, last week we closed under 65, right there at 65, came all the way back and just recently flashed down on the trading session, now bouncing a little bit going into the U.S. But, I mean, these are starting to be some pretty big moves, overall in the lower direction for major currencies, higher direction in U.S. dollar. But we're seeing some healthy bounces and then them being sold into, unfortunately, if you are long this Aussie or if you're short this dollar CAD, same thing where Canada opens higher against the U.S. and then gives back all of that ground. Although, again, we're seeing a little bit of dollar weakness going into the U.S. session. And then even in the majors here, Pete, seeing some huge moves, dollar losing a bunch of ground against yen here to start the week, falls under 154, and then coming into the U.S. session here, bounces all the way back, all the way back to close to 155. Once again here, only 30, 40 pips off of that level. Again, U.S. dollar seeing some weakness going into the U.S. session. Euro, though, has been the strongest here. What say you? Because it's been the weakest
last week. Now, this bounce last night when we opened was supposedly on a more balanced person being nominated for Secretary of the Treasury. Who cares?
I don't know.
I think what this is, we plumbed below 104, well below 104 yesterday, Friday. A little bit of buying on an oversold condition. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And where you saw Aussie up, Euro up, Euro's been the only one to hold on to the rally here. But it was by far the most beat up last week. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if this fails like Aussie did, like Kiwi did, like Canada did, or this actually has a little bit of legs to it. Now, cheap? Absolutely. I mean, we're down 6 handles, 600 pips in short order post-election. So do we have a little bit of room to go on an upside correction? I think this is more a reaction to, is the low put in? Is there enough?
Yeah.
Is there enough to test the short's will right now? Because there hasn't been any really. We had two small rallies on this month-long trek down, and they really didn't last long, and they didn't have a lot of legs to them. 80 points on one, 40 points on the other. So it'll be interesting to see if we can hold some ground here going into a holiday shortened weekend, or this also gets sold and rolled over into a little bit. So, and let's take a look at cable, because we saw a little bit of the same thing too in sterling.
Yeah, a little bit weaker here this morning than euro, but it's been a little bit stronger than euro in the last handful of weeks here. But everything getting back a little bit against the U.S. dollar to start this week. But to your point, it's not like overwhelming strength against U.S. dollar. And also to your point, if you're thinking that some news item like Trump's appointment, what is it for the Treasury? Secretary
of the Treasury. It's a guy who's supposedly more of a fiscal hawk. He doesn't want to spend. Okay. And, I'm not grading anybody's how they pick people, but I mean, it's the president's right to pick who he wants.
Yeah.
But it was perceived to be that, one of the great concerns was that a lot of tax cuts, tariffs, everything are going to directly impact the budget. And that's going to cause higher rates and a stronger dollar from that. Now, we saw treasuries get a little bit of a bid into them, not much of one, but a little bit of bid. But that was off of levels that were still in long bonds, 2-3 handles below where we started post-election. So a little bit of zeal being taken off of some of these one-way trades.
Well, and the point being that if you're hoping for one of these news items to reverse this move,
this is not it.
It's not it, and it's very rare that is the case. No. Now, what you would love to see, again, you and I are, as you can tell, I don't watch very much of the traditional news cycle, but we do watch this price action nonstop. What you would love to see on a day like today, if you are short dollar and long any of these other currencies that we're talking about, is go from here through the U.S. session and close the U.S. session at least
above all this clutter.
Above this
same
stuff.
Same thing in euro.
Same with euro.
Yep.
Here I have the daily chart. Let me get back to the 15-minute chart, because that would go a lot further than some news item that you read online that said, oh, now so-and-so does whatever the heck, and now the U.S. dollar is going to dust. And it's like, none of that stuff means anything. The price is what the price is. But also on the flip side of that, if you're short any of these major currencies and still riding that long dollar wave, I mean, man, what you would love to see is a continuation of what you're seeing in this Aussie market coming into the morning, which is...
The rally has no legs. If you can't hold a rally for more than 24 hours, and we get back into in Aussie, we've already gotten back into the kind of the clutter at the lower end of the range. Yeah. Kiwi also. So you're absolutely right. 105.20 at the end of the day for euro puts the shorts to the test a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice.
If it doesn't get there, then
this is a day where unchanged feels like a down day.
Absolutely.
And so if this Aussie is even just, it's 65 bid, it's 65.10, whatever, that feels like a down day because it was 50 pips higher last night when I was checking out.
I think we're going to have a great week going into this whole week in terms of tradable opportunity. Markets are moving. We're getting extremes. We're seeing some divergence in the pairs. Some of the most beat up are actually outperforming a little bit. One day's outperformance doesn't tell me anything. It tells me the natural proclivity to people to take some chips off the table if they had been short long dollars, short euro. We'll see. Today will be an interesting day because we've got a full day of trading. Whether or not we can actually sustain these bounce levels, albeit still cheap levels. 105, we would have looked at it 2 weeks ago and said 105 is really cheap euro. Well, it was until the print of 103.5.
Well, and to your point, we've got the Fed minutes tomorrow, which I'm never really going crazy for, but it's something. And then we have PCE and GDP in the U.S. on Wednesday. We've got data from a bunch of decisions globally going on. So, and to your point, month end as well, and how that'll schedule around the holiday in the U.S. will be really interesting. It's going to be an interesting week. Everything is at an interesting price level. There's some data coming out, and we're already seeing some big chunky moves. So it'll be a fun one for sure.
All right. Let's wrap it up, my friend.
Cool.
All right. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great day.